Howdy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope this Friday finds you doing well. Welcome to our fireside chat. We're going to go ahead and just jump right into it and get started. Today's topic is, we can go anywhere on this, right? I mean, I have a topic that I want to kind of surround our discussion, but if there's anything, this is a fireside chat, so it's really open to anything, right? In addition to asking me questions, if you'd like to ask me or the group questions, we can discuss that. And so what I'm looking to do here, in this fireside chat is I love the engagement. I love the interaction. I want to hear from each of you. I think that adds tremendous value to this fireside chat. And I really like when the conversation just kind of maybe bounces around and goes in other directions, because amazing things come out, when we have that open discussion. But for the sake of just, having a topic, started last week with small steps, and we're I'm going to kind of follow the chapters of my book here, through the summer, and we're going to discuss it. So this chapter 2 is The Dream Begins. And so it's really about, building that dream. And so I want to, throw out some comments and some thoughts that I have around that. And then we can open it up for some discussion and see where this goes. But I really, I mean, everybody talks about the dream board, to visualize something. Napoleon Hill, in his book, Think and Grow Rich, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it will achieve, that you wouldn't have had a thought unless you were capable of its accomplishment, right? The law of attraction, right? With, that's all about visualizing and internalizing and manifesting. And I think that's really what a dream is. It's to put a very clear picture in your mind. You can, put it on a dream board to trigger your mind and trigger those emotions that you had when you put it together. But essentially, I think when you really think about it, it's empowering the law of attraction, the manifesting of an ideal, a manifesting of a goal, a manifesting of something you really, really, truly want. And I think that when people abandon their dreams with the first obstacle, I question if they really had a dream, if they abandon it. Because when you really, really have a dream, when you really, really have, where nothing's going to distract you, nothing is going to set you back. Because here's the thing, I don't care if your dream is big, if it's small, if it's enormous, we know it can be done, right? Because others have done it. We know it can be done. And if it can be done, if it has been done, we can do it too. But what sets us off is, obstacles and distractions, because I don't care who it is, you're going to have obstacles and your distractions. I mean, what popped into my mind was, KFC, Colonel Sanders. I mean, how many people said your recipe sucked before somebody took it on? But he had a goal, he had a dream of what he thought that could be. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can look at anyone in history that had that definite dream, that clear picture, and it didn't matter what the obstacle, what the naysayer, who the naysayer was, what he was faced with or setbacks, they just continued to move forward. And so I think that's one of the most important things, is evaluate how serious you are about that dream. Because if it's, I remember way back when I entered network marketing, one of my mentors happened to be my sponsor in my second company, Todd Smith. And he was referring to it as goals at that time. And he, asking somebody, when he's sitting down with them, what they want out of the business. And, they would talk about, well, I want to be debt free. I want to get my spouse, out of her job. I want to get out of my job. I want a new home. I want to do this vacation, whatever it is. And then he would ask the question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you really want that? How serious are you about that? what you just shared with me that you want, how serious are you about it? How bad do you really want it on a scale of 1 to 10? And he said, if they come back with any number other than 10, he said they're going to abandon it when it gets tough, because it will get tough. Any goal worthwhile will get tough. But I think, another thought that just popped into my head that I think is very important is, I think goals should stretch you. I think a dream should motivate you and stretch you. But I also believe that you can continue to grow and dream bigger, right? And I think to avoid, what's the word I'm looking for? To avoid discouragement, I think a dream has to be somewhat realistic. And because when I look at myself here, the life I'm living today. I'm at my home right now in Las Vegas. You can see a little bit of the background. I mean, this is a beautiful home. I mean, I could have never in my wildest imaginations dreamed this. I didn't know what it was. I've never been in anything like this. I wouldn't have even been able to picture it, right? I was last week at my lake home, and it's just, I remember, about 10 years ago, that place is 16 years old. I remember sitting on my deck, and I was, in the evening, it was a beautiful evening. I'm just, I'm sitting, sipping a scotch, and I'm looking at the lake, and I'm just like, this is crazy. I mean, this is mine. How did this happen? And so I think I look back to when I first entered the business, and you guys heard me talk about this before. My dream, my goal at the time, it really wasn't even a dream. I don't think I even had a dream initially. I mean, I was kind of living my dream, to be honest with you, because I loved working with my hands. I loved maintenance. I loved building things. And my background, dyslexia. I had low self-esteem and confidence. I mean, when I got my job out of high school at this potato chip factory, I mean, I thought I had arrived. I mean, I thought I had the best job I'd ever possibly get. I mean, I thought, and my parents thought so too, people around me. I mean, because when I went to school, I mean, they were teaching me, how to write checks and read signs, street signs, so I wouldn't be a dependent on society. And so, I landed that job. But here's the other thing I'm going to tell you about it. I worked hard there. I put overtime. I mean, Earl Nightingale talks about this. He says, 8 hours to make a living. Okay. If you want to build a future, you need to work more than that. And I think that's the other thing. I think people need to be realistic. If your goals are lofty, if you really are passionate and really want something special and big, it ain't going to happen in 8 hours. Okay. You got to live, eat, and sleep it, right? I mean, if you really want something big, you're going to have to brush up. I mean, it was explained to me one time, that made perfect sense long time ago, because we get in our business discouragement and distractions and naysayers and hurdles and obstacles and setbacks and the challenge, or, the frustration is, for most people, that blows them out of the business. So they talk about what they want, but then you have to ask yourself, how bad did they really want it? They didn't really want it, because, I mean, if you went and that's why you have to have in our business that opportunity, that business mentality. I mean, if you spent, back then it was probably $500,000 to get into a McDonald's franchise, and somebody, orders that burger. I mean, you're excited, grand opening, and you serve that first burger up, and somebody pukes all over your counter and said, this is the worst burger I've ever had in my life. I mean, you're not closing up shop. This is, oh my God, what did I do? I made a huge mistake here at this McDonald's. No, I mean, you're cleaning it up and getting them out of there, next, right? And that's the mentality we need to have in our business, is we need to have that. Hold on one second, guys. I'm on a Zoom right now. I can call you back unless it's urgent. Okay. Anyway, somebody in my family calling. So that's always, I just try to answer. But anyway, so where was I? Yeah, so I think back to my original dream, and I was kind of living it. I really loved my job and my work and what I did. And I was being appreciated and valued, and I was getting some recognition, and my self-esteem and self-confidence was building a little bit, and then I got thrown a curveball by introduction network marketing. And at that time, I really didn't know anything at all of what it could be or what what's possible. I mean, all I saw was buying a filter, selling a filter, making $59 and thinking, God, if I could make a few hundred extra dollars a month, this would be great. I didn't enter into it, with any goal really of just, see what happens. But once I started realizing what was possible, and then your imagination takes off, and then you start thinking about things that were beyond your original dream, original imagination, original thought of what your life could be, and you start dreaming. And for me, that initial maybe dream in this industry of networking was, gosh, what would it be like to be full-time, to actually do this? Because I really enjoyed it. I mean, I really had fun with networking when I entered into it. I mean, I joke about it. When I would talk to somebody, I was bouncing off the walls, exciting, and they didn't know what I was talking about. But they wanted to join me because they could feel my energy and excitement about what I saw was possible, right? And of course, what I saw was possible, and what helped that dream come alive was being plugged in, being involved, going to the events, seeing other people that I saw that were like me achieving phenomenal success. And that makes you think and believe that, hey, maybe I can do this too, right? I mean, if you look at my book, one of the stories I talk about was my very first big event, where I went to Minneapolis. This is about 3 hours away. And I attended an event, and all I remember of that event, it was my first big event. And there were like 1,000 people in a room. This was like a weekly event. And I just remember this guy walk across the stage in bib overalls, one pants leg was tucked in his boot, had a baseball hat on, and he said he'd made $10,000 last month. And I'm like, that was $10,000 to me would be equivalent to the way I feel about $1 million right now. It was a lot of money. I couldn't even imagine it, right? But I left that meeting with that story cemented in my brain, that that right there made me dream bigger, right? Identifying with that person of what they accomplished made me think, and think, I think, is the same as dream. It dream bigger. But here's the other thing about it is, and it comes back to how bad you really want something, but what are you really willing to do? Because success, you don't fall to the top of the mountain. You got to climb there. And it's full of challenges and obstacles and hurdles and setbacks and disappointments and backstabbing and everything under the sun. And in pursuit of your dream, pursuit of your goal, pursuit of a better life, is going to build character. It's going to build wisdom. It's going to build knowledge. It's going to build you. And that's, really Jim Rohn talks about that, right? It's not what you earn, it's who you become in the process. It's not what you earn, it's who you become in the process. But just think about, as I'm talking, I got this stuff popping in my head of these Jim Rohn quotes that are just, Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and all these. And you guys are, it pops in my head at randomly at will as I'm talking about something. I didn't think about that quote before I did this call, or these quotes that I've already quoted you. So part of fulfilling your dream, I believe, is you have to grow as a person. If you've got a big dream, you need to be, Todd Smith, one of my mentor, he says you need to become worth it. Right? There are people that are succeeding beyond their ability. But it typically, if they don't meet their income, if they don't grow into it, they're going to lose it. Right? You have to grow into it. So, and the reason I bring it up is this personal development. Where do all these things come from? It comes from many, 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 many hours of listening and watching and repetition of listening to the Jim Rohns and the Zig Ziglars and the Lou Tice and, the Les Browns. And so ask yourself, because I see people, and Hannah Gallagher about a month or so ago, and I did a little video about it, she talked about everybody wants the dream life, but what are they willing to do? Are they, is somebody, are they wishing or are they working? Because it doesn't just happen. You have to act. You have to be consistent. You have to be focused, and you have to be determined, and you have to be strong, right? You have to be strong. You need to have that will regardless of any of the wind and the set of the sail, as Jim talks about, Jim Rohn, regardless of what is thrown at you, you need to brush it off. And we could talk about, we have in the past, we could talk more about just all these little distractions, from life. What are we in summer right now, right? It's, light till 9:30 at night, and barbecues, and the pandemic is here in the US anyway, loosening up, and people are out and they're traveling. I flew into Vegas 2 days ago, and the airport was just packed. I haven't seen it like this in a year and a half. This morning, 5 a.m., I'm dropping my daughter off at the airport, and 5 lanes of traffic, bumper to bumper at 5 a.m., crawling, going into the drop-off line. There's distractions. People want to get on vacation. But if you have a dream, I'm not saying don't do any of those things. I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself and all that. But if you really have a dream and you want that dream to be a reality, it needs to be at the forefront of your thoughts. It needs to be, it needs to always be there. I don't care what it is you're doing. You could be barbecuing, but that dream is rolling around in the back of your head, right? I don't care what it is you're doing. It's there. It's there, and you're thinking and dreaming and thinking about it. And I was telling somebody earlier about another pivotal moment for me is one of my first times I ever spoke in front of a large audience. Okay, it was in Dallas, Texas, and I had gone over it so many times in my mind that when I actually did it, it was almost like deja vu. It was so familiar that it was almost like I did it 1,000 times. It was so familiar. And so that, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced deja vu before, where you live something in your mind so many times, that when it actually happens, it's almost like it's not for the first time because you lived it in your mind. And so this whole manifesting is real. Okay. And the thing about manifesting, just like I talk about focus, because focus and manifesting, I think, can be very closely tied, but it can work against you as well as it can work for you. Because if you're thinking about, again, comes back to, Napoleon Hill, think and grow rich, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it will achieve. Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret, be careful what you think about, because what your predominant thoughts are is your reality. And it takes a conscious effort to make sure that you're thinking about the right things, because it's too easy to think about all of the things that are out of our control, all of the things that may be happening to us instead of the things that we want, right? It's too easy. So anyway, I've kind of rambled on here a little bit, but I hope I maybe sparked a little something in some of you, but it is really, I do believe that having a dream and evaluating how serious you are about it, right? And if you really are on that scale of 1 to 10, a 10, I want this, there's nothing going to stop you. If you truly are, you'd really want that, and it's on the forefront of your thoughts at all the time, you're going to get it. It's going to be a matter of time, and yes, there'll be setbacks and all that. And that comes back to what we talked about last week, the small steps. All these setbacks, all these things that happen to us, it's all what we do about them, right? That's Jim Rohn, right? It's not what happens, it's what we do about what happens that makes the difference. The same wind blows on us all. It's the set of the sail. So it's, all of these things are so closely tied together, but they matter. They matter, and it takes that, it takes, surrounding yourself, because don't think, to achieve big goals, you can't do it by yourself. You need others. Others are part of your dream. And so, that's all about how you treat people and how you make people feel, and being honest and being truthful and being real, because all those things, we've heard about karma. It's easy, sometimes we're tempted, right, to do what's easy instead of what's right. Okay. To do what's short term instead of what we know is the right thing to do long term. We're tempted. again, comes back to those decisions we talked about last week. So let's go ahead and open it up, see if anybody wants to chime in here and expound upon what I've just, talked about.
Hi, John. It's Robin.
Hey, Robin, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
With your tree, that kind of, just shows growth, right?
Yes. I'm all about growth. I started Valentis back in the beginning of April, and I just want to say thank you, John, for all your Zoom meetings. Your fire chats have been nothing but inspirational and motivating. It keeps me going. It keeps my dreams alive. I'm new at network marketing, but I'm learning a lot, and it starts with myself, and I've learned that it starts with myself. So I wake up every morning with potential, and I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I don't work. It's hard for me to find a job because I have my daughter to take care of. My husband works out of state a lot. So that's my why, is to do this so I can do something to bring him home to our family. He's been doing this for over 15 years, and we used to be able to travel with him, and now we can't because our daughter's in school. She just graduated kindergarten yesterday, and turned 6 on Sunday on Father's Day. So we've got lots of distractions this week. He is home for the month of June, so I'm a little distracted this month, but I'm staying on top of everything, and I'm growing myself. And yeah, like I said, I just wake up every morning with potential, knowing that I can better myself, better my life, and better my family's life, and bring us all together someday. So little steps will get me there.
Absolutely. That's another topic right there. Small steps, right? Little steps. And so, congratulations on your daughter's graduation from kindergarten, is it?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's exciting. And so, yeah, you have your husband's home for the month, and there's distractions, and obviously you want to pay attention to that, right? I mean, that's your ultimate dream, is to have him home anyway. So you want to take advantage of that, but in the same notion, use it as motivation that I don't want this for June. I want it for the whole year. I want it for my whole life, right? And we can accomplish it here. We can do it here, right? So keeping, and I think that's one of the other things I've often done too, is I've turned obstacles into motivation, right? I've turned obstacles into motivations. I've turned, something when you really, like, say this month of June, as you're enjoying that time, and just wouldn't reinforcing that dream of what you really want, right? We can have this life. So I need to go do this call right now. I need to go jump on this Zoom right now, right? So
yep. He's my biggest support in this. So I haven't seen him since March. So it's been a crazy wait for him to come home, but he leaves in next month at the beginning of July. So that's when I'll really start on getting into this. But I've already done so much, and I've already grown so much, and I appreciate this company a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think you've been on every fireside chat here through June. So, you got to stay plugged in, guys. You got to stay plugged in. I mean, I do these fireside chats as much for me as I do for you, because I inspire myself. I mean, in hearing you guys and learning from you guys and getting your input. And I mean, I come off of these excited. I come off of these things excited, because I don't care how much success you're having, you still have distractions, and you still have problems, and you still have hurdles, and whatever. And so we all need it. We all need it. So anyone else want to jump in? Greg comes off of me.
Hey, John, can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay? Awesome. I'm driving back into Phoenix from Albuquerque, so hopefully good enough reception, but appreciate the fireside chats as well, as Robin was talking about it. Listening to what you're saying, sometimes I think we forget how far we've came as well. And when I think back at when I first entered the industry, I had the idea just to make a couple $100 a month, and that was really based off of my belief. And I think in the beginning especially, we get so focused on doing all of the things all of the time, and I mean the people that really want it, and then you can have success, and then you can kind of forget what you were doing while you were having success. So if it's anything like, if you're talking about what it takes, and you're talking about motivation and things like that, I think back, because I was thinking about this weekend, what was I doing in the beginning that kind of pushed me? Because sometimes in the beginning you're doing so much work and it doesn't feel like you're getting the return on your investment. but really you're planting all those seeds. And, I just think back at what I was willing to do, and I was willing to do whatever it took. Uh, like you said, I went, going to every meeting and, thinking back at 13, 14-hour days of, constant personal growth and development, because I had, 25, 26 years of, yuckiness, coming in. I had to make sure I was putting all the good out. But, for those that are new on here, like Robin, there's different levels to success. And, my mentor always said, if you were meant to have that success, you would already have it. So there's something that you need to learn in order to get you to the next step. So, I just kind of piggybacking off of what you're saying. So just kind of putting everything into perspective again, and for myself, refocusing on doing the things that I was doing in the beginning that got me to where I was happy. But it was funny, John, that you say, you think about a $10,000 month. I remember thinking, if I could just make $100, I'd be happy. And then, you make 100, you're like, okay, 1,000. Let me retire from my job. And then you're happy. You always keep that wrinkle in your stomachs. There's different levels. And, you're like, let me get to that $10,000 month. And then it happens. And you're like, wait, that was good, but I want to get to 20 and more and more and more. Not that it's you're not grateful, but you realize once you get to a certain point, it's like riding a bike. And now it's really my obligation and duty to kind of circle back around the track and pick other people up and help them, capture their goals and dreams. And that's really the passion that I found here. So different levels to success, but it all takes that grit and that gumption and, the determination. And my favorite word is that commitment. It's consistency and that commitment, and just doing the little things all the time. I don't have to count all that.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. You said so much there. One thing that, first off you said was, about, don't forget how far you've already come, right? So don't be too hard on yourself. I think we need to, I beat myself up constantly, even still today. So, I think we do, it's natural for us to do that, but we also need to pat ourselves in the back for how far we have come, because we do in network marketing. We grow people. If you're involved and you're staying involved and engaged, you are growing. You are growing as a person. And so I think that's that's a huge deal. But I know, Greg, your story, not, every detail of it, but I know that you've had a lot of setbacks and a lot of struggles. And even coming into Valentis, a lot of things, where most people would have just abandoned, I can't do this right now. And you stayed focused, you stayed consistent, you didn't, and you just kept moving forward and kind of kept a lot of that invisible to everybody around you, right? So this attitude and all that stuff. You said so many powerful things in your comments there. So thank you for that.
Hey, John.
Hey, Siv.
Hey, man. Yeah, powerful. And, the one thing that I got from this, right, it really resonated with me for today is you asked a very powerful question that one of my mentors asked me when I first broke through to my $10,000 month was, so Siv, what's really stopping you? Like your question of, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you really want it? Right? Like really, how bad do you really want it? And at that time, I was working crazy hours and I barely had any time to build my business, because when I was done working my regular job, I was wanting to spend time with my family. What are you willing to give? Also, I think it's a very important question. And I found myself now having to look at how far I've come, like Greg mentioned. And man, if you get to talk to Greg, you can see where he's at, because he's a fan of personal development, right? One of the questions I asked him was, why is he back in, and what really brought him back into the industry? And you can hear the burning desire in him to get what he wants for himself, but more importantly, the burning desire to get that feeling and be able to help a lot of people get it too, right? And you can hear it from him. And so the one thing that I got is when you ask yourself that question and seeing where you are today and how far you've come, I fell into management mode, and I also fell into doing everything, right? When you're busy doing everything and you don't get results, you're doing busy work and you're not being productive, right? Busy father. If you guys, first time hearing me, 7 girls, 1 boy, father, 8 children, busy business. It's crazy. You can really get caught up in being busy, but I had to inspect what I expected out of myself. is it worth it? Right? On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you really want it? When I looked at myself in the mirror and said, I want it more than this. Not only do you need to know what you got to do, it's the little steps to get you there, but you also have to know what you shouldn't be doing, the things that distract you from what's going to get you there, right? I think we don't, it's not like we don't have focus. I think we all know what we want. We all have a level of focus. The reason why we don't get what we focus on is because we allow the little distractions to get us out of focus, but we all know what we want, hands down. And so when you said that on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you really want it? That really resonated with me. And knowing how to say no, right? That's one of the biggest things I have, is knowing how to say no. So back to you, John. Thank you.
Well, again, you said every time you come on, Steve, you just have such great wisdom. And you have these little one-liners that are like little poems almost. I forget what the one was that what's my intention, or what did you say?
Right now, or
yeah, it was in this little conversation. You said something that I thought about, and then you said something else, so I lost what I was trying to hold on.
It just flows. I like what you said earlier, right? Is I'm just, from where I was to where I'm today, I'm still growing. I'm still a student, and that's why I value staying connected. And what you always say is, people do what you do, not what you say to do. So I love your one-liners too, John.
Yeah.
And it's proximity is power, and well, when I'm in the moment, I don't really think about what I need to say. I'm just in the moment. And part of that is it took years to develop that, and it takes every day. And it's just a lesson I learned from my father before he passed. One night at 4 a.m. in the morning, he just gets up, like just woke me up. I freaked out, right? And he goes, you know what, son? If you want to get better every day, you need to start working on yourself once a year. Like I live by that every day. So sorry, John, I don't know, man. I was just vibing and I was in the moment. And, if people watch this recording and want to listen to it, then cool. But yeah, I just value this connection, this proximity of so many incredible people. We all speak different dialects. We all, but we all understand the same language, right? And that is, everybody wants to be happy. Once you find what that happiness is and you determine why, not just what you want, but why, right? The desire, man, it's powerful. So thanks, John.
And what you just said there kind of, comes back to another discussion we had a few weeks back, was, that that your why, and really digging down to what your real why is, not just a fancy why, why that sounds good, but what the real meaning and the real motivation and the real reasoning behind, right? I think that's what you're talking about there, that, what's his name? His name slips me.
Dean
Graziosi.
Yeah, Dean Graziosi, the 7 levels of digging down into your why. But again, it's and you talked about, this busy time, because we can be busy and getting nothing done, right? And so Robert Kiyosaki says, the difference between a rich man and a poor man is how they spend their time, right? We all have the same amount of time. It's how do we spend it? Are we spending it on paytime activities or no paytime activities? Are we spinning our wheels with activity that gets us nowhere? And that's, to be honest with you, that's where most people spend their time. I mean, they're spinning their wheels not on productive activities. They're Jim Rohn talks about, most anything in life can be boiled down to about a half a dozen different things, and people are trying to do 100 things instead of a half a dozen. Another thing I just popped into my mind as we were talking here is, and I think that's the thing between a dream and a wish. Our people, they think they're dreaming and manifesting, but what they're really doing is wishing, because without the action behind it, without the steps, to lead to the fulfillment of that dream, you're really just wishing, right? You're just wishing. I mean, we can have big dreams, but they don't go anywhere without action, without, and that's where the constant manifesting, which, ties into the law of attraction. The law of attraction, people misunderstood, thought, well, all you need to do is think about it and it's going to come true. No, the thinking about it stimulates, your subconscious, and it goes to work, and it comes up with ideas and leads you to the answers or to the activities that will lead to that goal. It's not enough just to say I want something and the law of attraction brings it. It's got to be, completely consumed within your thoughts, and there should be no second question, because that's the other big thing that takes people off is I mean, we already talked about it and we can beat it up again, but it's the distractions. They say they want something, and I kind of think about it. I was walking my daughter's dog this morning, before it got too hot, and I mean, she got distracted at everything. I mean, every bush and and I keep tugging her along. But that's the way a lot of people live their life. They say they want something and they're sniffing every bush because they can't see. They got to stay focused. So, guys, we're at 35 minutes here. Anybody have anything last minute they want to say? Otherwise, we'll close off for today. And I think, leaving this, thinking about how bad you really want something, and on that scale of 1 to 10, Siv just reiterated that, how bad you really want something on a scale of 1 to 10. And because if you really, really want it, and you articulate it, put that dream board together, nothing will stop you. Because that's what, I mean, you look at anyone who's ever accomplished something great, the obstacles, I mean, I don't know if you saw what was the Michael Jordan, I watched that here about 6 weeks ago, the Michael Jordan, I mean, story. And I mean, you watch these various documentaries from, Bohemian Rhapsody or Rocket Man or any of them. You look at the challenges and the obstacles and the things. How did they make it through it, right? And we wonder why we're not getting there, because we're letting every distraction, every obstacle, put us into a pity party. And I can't do something. You can do it. So anybody, any last comments before we close off here? Okay, everyone, have a fantastic weekend. I really enjoyed this. It was fun. I really liked the way this went today. So anyway, have a great day. Have a great weekend.